Yes, that's a P-26 in the thumbnail. Yes, that's a P-26 in the video. No, this is not going to be a usual style of video. One particular viewer by the name of Jacksony, shout out to you, big man, this video is entirely because of you. Well, he paid a pretty good amount of money to see this actually created, and well, I don't know exactly why. I don't see the real entertainment value here myself, to each their own, and everybody has a price. And while this video is going to be a little bit about the P-26, it is a P-26 dedicated video, I'm also going to take some time to talk about rank 1 in War Thunder in general, and just getting into the game for your first time, because some people out there might be looking for help. They might stumble upon this video and maybe they can pick up a couple of pointers that especially apply specifically to rank 1 planes. Let's start with the P-26. I'm flying the M2 because the difference between the P-26 models is pretty negligible, and from everything I can tell, the M2 seems to be the best. You get WEP, which I know at least one of the P-26s doesn't have WEP. The B model, I believe, does not have WEP, and this one also has the M250 cal. I'm pretty sure that's why it's called the P-26 M2, but that's huge in rank 1. Having a 50 cal is significantly outgunning pretty much everything that you're going to be playing against. Now, if you go against a twin engine bomber like you see me in the beginning of the video, I actually turned my 50 cal off because I know I'm not going to do any damage anyways to it. It's just too tanky and I only have 2 guns, so I just tried to pepper him with 30 cals to see if I can get some kind of water leak or something going. From there, we found an I-16, and I have a significant altitude advantage over the I-16 because the P-26 actually does not climb too terribly for a rank 1 reserve plane. It certainly outclimbs most of the biplanes that most people have as reserves, most countries have as reserves, and that is pretty vital because the P-26 does not turn nearly as well as some of the other biplanes do. If you get into a low altitude, low speed turn fight, you're pretty much just boned. I'm going to show a clip of that later in the video. So when possible, you want to try to climb above people. If you're playing in ARB, of course, this whole video is only if you're playing in ARB, which I highly don't recommend. If you want to play rank 1 reserves, if you're just getting into War Thunder, you should definitely try arcade for these early planes. But if you're insistent on playing ARB, then you want to try to make sure you're higher than people when you're in the P-26 because it just does not turn as well as the biplanes do. Having WEP is absolutely massive though, it's a huge advantage, and it does noticeably give you some extra horsepower for some kind of pseudo energy fighting tactics. The HU-1112, not the best fighter, it's really not that good, and honestly I'd rather be in the P-26 M2. We kind of stall him out a little bit, he gets greedy, he goes vertical for us, I had plenty of speed. You notice I just kind of do some kind of horizontal turn around him as he's going vertical for me, bleeds his energy, and then we come back down on him. 50 cal makes absolutely short work of his plane. If you're aiming well with the 50s, which most new players aren't going to be, granted, but if you do start aiming well with your 50 cal into rank 1, it actually can do some pretty good damage. I recommend running ground targets because the early war belts just aren't the best anyways, so you may as well take all the armored piercing you can get, try to set the engine on fire with it, or kill the pilot, which happens pretty frequently in these early tier planes. They don't have a lot of protection, the bullets will go right through the entire plane into the pilot or the engine block, and that's going to be the majority of your kills. You can see here I've pretty much just been trying to use my speed and altitude advantages to bleed the opponents of their energy. That's what I'm doing right now, that's what I've been doing pretty much the entire video, but it is still a rank 1 reserve plane and your speed does not last forever. Booming and zooming sounds like a good idea. If you don't know what that is as a new player, that is when you go into a dive, you make your attack, the boom, and then you use all that speed you collected in the dive and zoom back up to altitude. That works in a lot of the later warplanes, but in something like this, it just does not carry enough energy into that vertical to really make much of a difference. So once you inevitably run out of energy, and you have something like an I-15 or the HE-51, there's just no getting them off of you. They turn better than you, they're always going to be on your 6 because they're just going to be slower and have more lift. They can point their nose. If you try to go vertical and make them stall out, you might start out running them a little, you might start out climbing them a little, but they'll still have their nose pointed at you and you just can't outrun their 30 caliber machine guns. So again, when at all possible, make sure you're engaging these early war biplanes, well, these rank 1 reserve biplanes, with an altitude and speed advantage. Now ideally, of course, an altitude and speed advantage is welcome in pretty much every plane you play throughout the entirety of War Thunder. That's kind of just one of those no shit statements, right? But the thing is like I said, the P-26, having the WEP, having a pretty decent climb rate, having an altitude advantage is not too difficult. It's one of the strengths of your plane over the other aircraft at the BR, and having the speed advantage, as long as it's a biplane, is also not too difficult because you will more than likely have the altitude. Now you can see me here at the start of this game. I'm kind of flying sideways in relation to where all the enemies are. Why is this? Well, it's for two reasons. Number one, we learned our lesson from last game to where if I'm just dealing with too many targets at one time, yeah, it's fun for the little while it lasts, but I'm inevitably going to die because once I run out of speed, the P-26, while it is still maneuverable, it's not maneuverable enough compared to the other rank 1 reserves to actually stay alive. So if they've caught you low and slow, that's pretty much game over, as we saw last game. I want to make sure I'm dealing with my targets kind of one at a time so I can conserve my energy a little bit better and be more careful about who I pick out to shoot at. Now also, the anti-aircraft, the mid-map AAA on rank 1 maps is absolutely ridiculous. If you fly on the other team's side of the map where all of their AI targets are, there is probably a 30 to 50% chance that you're just going to get deleted from the game from the anti-aircraft. And you'll know because you'll start hearing a popping sound going on all around your plane, and it'll be very rapid. The longer you stay in that popping noise, the more likely you're just randomly going to start taking damage and then just die. I've seen 3 planes get deleted by mid-map AA at rank 1 within the matter of about 30 seconds. It's really quite tragic. Now our M250 cal is putting in work right now, getting those pilot snipes and doing that critical damage that we need it to do, something that all of the rank 1 planes are not going to be able to do with their 30 caliber machine guns. So blessed is the 50 cal at rank 1 reserve. And you can see I was kind of breaking my rule a little bit there. I did jump into the dog pile and got into a multiple target engagement, but they were also low on energy. They were looking at other targets. I knew I was going to be safe if I had bounced between the 3 guys there. And that's exactly what we did. We managed to get a quick succession of kills. Now the Ju-87 here is a little bit of a tanky plane even for my 150 cal, but if you point it at the plane long enough, eventually you will get that fire. You just have to be careful about the tail gunners of these rank 1 bombers because it does not take much to kill your pilot in something like a P-26 or the other rank 1 reserves. Make sure if possible you're attacking something with tail gunners from underneath or somewhere where the gunner just can't quite shoot at you as easily. We do kill a Ju-87, but we're now out of 50 caliber ammo, and well, if you're out of 50 cal ammo, you're not going to be killing something like the Do-17 with 30 cals, especially one of them. So I tried to go head on with him just to get a lucky pilot snipe. That ends with me dying. I kind of expected that, but I wasn't going to kill him any other way. Moving on to the next game, we are once again higher than this CR-42, and the CR-42 really does kind of have me beat on all fronts. That is a really damn good biplane. Unfortunately for him, I have started with a significant altitude advantage. That's also in part just because a lot of rank 1 players don't know how to climb, but it's also in part because the P-26, like I said, with the WEP, is not a bad climber at all for a rank 1 reserve, and we're able to just kind of dive on him, delete him with the 50 cal, and then we move on to this Do-17 because he is really high. I don't want to deal with him late game if he decides to just stay at altitude because that'd be extremely annoying. So I'm going to use a little bit of my 50 cal ammo, try to aim for engines, see if I can get a fire. I don't quite manage to hit enough shots into the engine to start a fire. The HE-1112 is behind me, but like I said, I'm not really worried about that plane. It's actually one of the funnest ones to fight because, well, the only way it would beat me is with raw top speed, and most rank 1 players aren't going to know that. So you'll get into a dogfight with them, you'll absolutely slam them. They don't have good energy retention, they don't turn very well, and more often than not, as long as you're a little bit practiced, which again most rank 1 players aren't going to be, but you can outgun them and out-energy them. Now I say out-energy in quotes because really what it mostly comes down to is you are a lot more maneuverable at low speeds than he is, so even though your energy is probably roughly about the same, you're going to be maneuvering a lot better in the P-26 than he is going to be in his HE-1112. HE-112, sorry, I keep saying 1112, but that's not the right number. The HE-112. Moving on to the next game, I am getting a little bit risky here. I'm kind of over their mid-map AA. I am a little bit away, More so, the problem is when you're right over the mid-map AA, or when you're like shooting at it, for example. That's when it's really gonna get you. We almost ran a teammate here. The BF-109 is diving away. We managed to outclimb the BF-109, but I think a lot of that just comes down to he doesn't know how to climb just yet. He's not climbing sharp enough, but you know, the P-26, as I keep saying, is no slouch in the climb. 50 cals make short work of him. If I start with the same or more speed as the BF-109, there's nothing he's going to be doing to get away from me. I outmaneuver him in every single aspect, and all he's got on me is top speed. I'm not really a fan of how close I've gotten to the mid-map AA, and I'm not really a fan of having to fight multiple targets at one time, because I don't have enough energy retention. I don't have enough top speed to be dealing with more than, you know, 1 or 2 targets at a time. So we're just going to kind of fly to the side for a little bit, try to let the enemies come towards my direction, bring them over toward my side of the map, and that's really sad, I know, but that's just the way Rank 1 works with the mid-map AA. You want to fight over your side of the map, otherwise, like I said, 30 to 50% chance that their mid-map AA is just going to delete you from the game. We managed to catch this HE-51, kind of stalling out for a teammate here. And then I just fly around for a little while and do absolutely nothing because there's a couple of guys left. I think one was a bomber, kind of up in the air. Took a while to go get him. Somebody else got him. So I didn't even do anything else the rest of that match, and that's why I'm skipping it. Moving on to our next game here, and our last game. We have a whole lot of targets all together, and like I said, I don't like fighting multiple targets all at once, but sometimes you just don't have a choice, and I've at least got about 1,500 meters altitude on them, so if I need to, I can disengage. But more than likely, I am expecting them to just be tunnel visioned in on whatever they're shooting at, and I only need one pass really to get a good 50 caliber burst, and more than likely completely cripple, or more often than not even kill a plane with one pass of that 50 cal. But just like that, pretty much all of my speed is gone, so I make sure to turn the last little bit I had left into a bit of altitude so I could come back down on them. They're super tunnel visioned in though, I don't really need to. And if they were trying to kill me right now, especially the I-15 combined with either of the 109 or the 112, they definitely would have. The reality of Rank 1, and most of War Thunder honestly, is just shooting people that aren't even going to be trying to fight you. You're going to be slotting onto their 6, they're going to be tunnel visioned in on a teammate, and you're going to blast them out of the air while they're not even doing anything to try to stop you. We've got the last 2 targets in the area, just off of our nose here. Who am I going to go for? Well, I'm just looking for the easier target because they will kill my teammate. They did kill my teammate, and I want to make sure that I get them on that super vulnerable position there, because if not, I don't want them to regroup and take me on 1 versus 2. That would be very, very bad for me. So the I-15 was the slowest and easiest target. He was just kind of floating there. We put a couple of shots into the 112 as he's trying to get away. He just wasn't going to get away. Even if he started outrunning me a little bit, I was well within 50 caliber machine gun range, and I'd have had no problem hitting a target going like 200 kilometers an hour. So he just dives into the ground. I guess he got kind of sick of it. And back to the hangar he goes. We have a J-11 here. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really know what a J-11 was. I think it's some kind of Swedish biplane. So I know it's a biplane, and that's about it going into this fight. So I'm going to try to bait him into an energy fight here. It's rank 1 reserve energy, so I kind of decide against it last second. And I just try to go underneath him instead, because like I said in the beginning of the video, even if I do start to outclimb him, out-energy him a little bit, he's a biplane. More than likely, he's going to be pointing his nose at me, and I'm not going to be killing him. It'll be actually quite the opposite. He'll start shooting at me as he's stalling out, and I'll die. He ends up crashing into the ground, though, and I'm just going to kind of count that as a kill. We'll call it a maneuver kill and move on to the final part of the match. We have an Su-2 here. This is some kind of Russian attacker. I don't really need to know much about that other than the fact that it has a tail gunner, so I don't want to be sitting on its 6, otherwise he's going to gun me with that tail gunner. And the last plane of the match is a twin-engine bomber thing. So I'm just going to full commit head on him because I'm never going to take him down unless I get some kind of lucky pilot snipe, and the best way to do that is put it right through his front windshield. Jackson, I hope this was worth it. Probably wasn't, but nonetheless, here it is. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see ya.